Looking out of the train window, I saw the trees on both sides of the road running with the train. At noon, the news came that Fupu was ill, so I left after finishing the office, although it will still take a couple of hours to go to Nimtala. Then, from there, you have to go to Fingay Moor by TomTom. From there, rickshaw again went straight to Miapur village. Although I went to my aunt's house a long time ago, I remember how to go. When the train reached Nimtala station, it was almost 9 o'clock at night. Ajparagaon station. There is not much movement of people. Besides, today's weather is like a humid obstacle. It feels like nature is holding its breath. Storm forecast. At the end of the night, I arrived at the Fingay turn. No one got off the TomTom except me. There are no people on the streets. The wind is already blowing. At the street corner, only a tea stall had a dim light on a lantern. I went to the front of the shop and saw the shopkeeper preparing to close the shop. I asked the man, "Brother, can I get a rickshaw to go to Miapur here?" The man replied without looking at me, "No, mister. You will not get a rickshaw so late at night." "Then how do I go to my aunt's house?" I muttered. The man took away my expression and said, "Walk away. There is no other way. 30 minutes walk." "I'm going to walk." "But I don't know the way," I said in a slightly disappointed voice. The man looked at me and said, "It's a straight path. Walk straight along the path to the east. After 10 minutes of walking, you will find another thin mud road on the north side. Miapur is a straight walk along that road." By the time the man had finished speaking, it began to rain heavily. I waited for a while, but the rain showed no signs of abating. Meanwhile, the shopkeeper is also in a hurry to close his shop. Finally, I took a polythene bag from the shopkeeper and tied it on my head and started walking. I looked at the clock and saw that the hand of the clock was 10 o'clock. The trees on both sides of the road swaying in the wind. My whole body was drenched in the rain. Water is dripping down the shirt. I'm trying to walk fast. Ponds, forests, fields on both sides of the road. The house was not in sight. I felt uncomfortable when I entered the road on the right. It seems a little too dark here. Luckily, there was a torch. There is no problem walking in the torchlight. However, the mud road has become muddy in the rainwater, so you have to step carefully. Suddenly, I heard a familiar voice behind me. Looking back, I saw my aunt standing there. I was surprised. "Fufu, are you here?" Fufu smiled and said, "Yes, father, I heard that you would come. I came to get you forward." I was a little happy and said, "Well done." I also feel uncomfortable going alone. In addition, the path in the rain. As I spoke, I moved a little forward. I looked back again and saw that there was no aunt. This time I was really surprised. I called out loud several times, but there was no response. Only the whistling of the wind and the sound of rain ringing in my ears. My hands and feet trembled with fear, but I mustered up the courage and started walking quickly. Somehow, I am walking in the light of the torch in the darkness and rain. Suddenly, I saw someone wearing a white cloth digging the ground on the side of the road in front of me. I asked loudly in a trembling voice, "Who?" Hearing my call, he turned around to look at me. I was not at all prepared to see such a horrible face. No one sees anything like this even in their nightmares. The woman in the white dress seemed to have a lump of flesh hanging from her mouth. The blood turned black. Even in the darkness, I could clearly see the bright red eyes, dead man's flesh in his mouth. He looked at me and gave me a horrible smile. I feel like I'm going to faint with fear. I had never seen such a horrible form of death before. Somehow, I ran through the middle of the forest, convincing myself that death was inevitable if I lost consciousness. I don't think about looking back even once, but I don't know where to go at this hour. Meanwhile, the torch also fell out of his hand and disappeared. I am running through the middle of the forest, behind the death trap of a terrible demon. The only thought in my mind is that can I run away from this man-eating demon? I can't guess how long I've been running. I don't even know where I'm running. The incidence of rain has decreased a bit now. I stopped to see a hut. Twinkling lights are shining in the room. I stopped running and stood in front of the door, panting. A middle-aged woman came out from inside. Even in the dim light, I could clearly see that his skin color was black. "I am in great danger," I said to him in a pleading tone. "Please help me." "I knew you'd be here," the woman muttered. I did not listen to him and repeated, "Please help me in this trouble. I don't know the roads here." The woman muttered again, "No one can escape the danger that brings death." I didn't understand it and asked, "Did you say anything?" He ignored it and said, "Come in." As soon as I entered the room, he gave me a piece of cloth and said, "Wipe your body. There's a bed in the next room. Lie down. There is no arrangement to eat." I said thank you and went into the next room. The woman looks very strange. How mysterious the conversation is. But that's enough to find shelter tonight. I escaped danger. I have to go out tomorrow morning when the light comes. Where is the village of Miapur? I fell asleep thinking 7 or 5. Suddenly, I felt someone standing next to me. A very black hand ran his hand through my hair. Drops of sweat are forming on my forehead. I can feel the presence of the demon. A strange smell of clotted blood came to the nose. I opened my eyes and saw no one beside me. Blood is dripping from the surrounding fence. There is a terrible scream in the ears, the scream of death. Suddenly, I felt someone looking at me behind me. I can clearly hear his heavy breathing. I turned my head and looked up. The man-eating woman's horrible face, a demonic smile on his face, still human flesh on his face. I was suffocated. I jumped up and woke up. What a terrible nightmare. Everything is fine around now. The clock strikes 3 o'clock. It's still too late for the morning light. Meanwhile, I can't close my eyes for fear of nightmares. Then I heard a noise from the next room. Curious, I peeped and saw the woman in the next room chewing raw human flesh. The dead body is hanging from the bamboo above. My stomach was pounding. No words coming out of his mouth in fear. I didn't think I would be a victim myself. I walked silently, looking for gaps in the fence of my room. On one side, there is a bit of a rut. I somehow managed to get out of the gap with my paws. Then I started running aimlessly. I realized someone was following me behind, the forest trees swaying in the wind. My legs are tingling, but I didn't stop running. I know that death is when it stops. Suddenly, I was shocked to see a tree on the right. My body is hanging from the tree. I stood still for a moment. Then I thought it was a death trap for me. I started running again. Now only my body is hanging on all the trees in front of me, behind, left, right. I close my eyes and run. The vegetation slowly decreased. I came out of the forest and reached the locality. The storm has stopped now. I came to the courtyard of a house and sat on the ground. I don't see anything in my eyes. My legs don't move anymore. The head is bouncing. I couldn't last any longer. I lost consciousness. When I regained consciousness, I found myself lying at my aunt's house. My aunt, cousin, is looking at me. I told them all the facts. "This forest is a den of horrible demons," said the aunt. "No one comes to this street after evening. If I had known you would come late at night, I would have forbidden you to come. Now take rest. There's a lot of stress on you. I'm pretty healthy now." I closed my eyes in absolute relief, but the screams of the terrible night are still ringing in the ears.